Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Chun joining you on this an evening for our next edition of Nate at 8. Thanks so much for tuning in. Many of you may be in the dark watching this and the wake of that line of severe thunderstorms. A lot of us, unfortunately, without power. And even for us here at the station, thankfully running on a generator, but power out at the station as well. And that's the story for tens of thousands of us here across the Ohio Valley. The number is over 80,000 to be exact across eastern Ohio and the northern panhandle. So if you're watching it, this edition of Nate 8 in the dark, you are not alone. A lot of us, unfortunately, losing that power with extensive wind damage across the area. And of course, we're going to break that down for this edition of Nate at 8. We're also going to be watching for that next round of some showers and thunderstorms moving into the area. And we could even spot another thunderstorm tonight, some lingering showers with the cold front passage itself. Thankfully, though, the severe threat not anticipated to return, but maybe still getting a rumble of thunder with some additional showers that have moved back into the area here over the next couple of hours. But again, I want to reiterate that severe threat. This is not going to be a repeat of what we had going throughout the afternoon and the evening, arriving early on tonight. We will be watching then while it's mainly dry tomorrow, just a slight chance for shower. More showers and thunderstorms return through Thursday. That does present then a possibility for some additional severe weather. The overall risk, though, does not look as high as what we had for today, but the potential is there for another severe thunderstorm going into the latter part of Thursday. So that's when we'll be watching them for that potential for additional showers and thunderstorms moving back into the area. Again, some of those which could be severe later into the day on Thursday. So without further ado, let's jump into things and looking at live radar right now. The line that brought that extensive wind damage well to the east. This has been just really moving fast east across the area. We saw this move in excess of 50 miles per hour across our area and just continuing that steam moving across central now into the eastern part of PA. And yes, we're starting to spot some of that precipitation that's moving back in east central Ohio. We'll watch for its arrival here over the next couple of hours. But again, not going to see a repeat of what we saw earlier into the day here early on tonight. Just a slew of storm reports. This is that same line originating in southwest Ohio. And you can see just continuing to bring wind damage across the entirety there of that central portion of the Buckeye State, moving from southwest Ohio through central Ohio, east central Ohio, and eventually for us here into eastern Ohio, the northern panhandle, and just continuing across western into central PA. So just a large area of wind damage as this moved east across the region. And that's essentially what we saw, not getting many reports of any large hail or tornadoes. This was primarily just dealing with some high winds with this line as it moved east across the area. And again, leaving a lot of us in the dark, unfortunately. Suzanne joining us this evening saying hello. Hello there, Suzanne. Thanks for tuning in. Austin saying evening. Good evening to you, Austin. Thank you very much for live streaming the thunderstorm and televised the tornado warning this evening. You're very welcome. Thanks for tuning in. And I know a lot of us may not have even be able to see that with a lot of us in the dark, but we were live on air for that tornado warning that was issued over portions of Jefferson, Brooke, Hancock. And again, the emphasis there was just the high winds itself as well with that tornado warning issued for those locations. Suzanne says, I'm in the dark this evening as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of us left in the dark in the wake of these storms. And there's a time lapse overlooking Steubenville area. And here's that high winds as it initially moved through with that heavy rain. And you can see just how much that tower cam was shaking up and down, the guide wire shaking on the tower. And can't quite pick it up here with the time lapse. We're taking, still frames and playing them in repeat with the time lapse. But if you were to watch this as an actual live stream, we had this up during the break-in coverage of that tornado warning. And if you weren't able to join in, this was quite an eerie sight as we had our tower cam overlooking in the Steubenville area up, and we were watching this move in, and you were able to see the flashes of power. The power flashes of power outages when lines were taken down with the trees falling on them. And it was quite an eerie sight. The winds were howling at the station, and been here since 2019. I've certainly never seen anything to this magnitude here at the station near the Steubenville, near Steubenville and Mingo Junction. Certainly have not seen this extensive of high winds at the station, and further evidence of dealing with these high winds. This AM radio tower that sits near our station, from what I gathered, it's been here since about the 1940s. It's been standing since then. The high winds brought it down and actually ended up over the road near the station as well. Thankfully, that's been cleared, as you can see the car passing by. But yeah, brought down a old AM radio tower as well, evidence of dealing with those high winds, and multitude of trees located near the station brought down as well. And you'll notice, if you're going out and assessing this damage, you'll notice that a lot of this, it's fallen in the same direction, and it's much like a bulldozer effect with these high winds, that they're blowing everything over in the same direction. Now, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of us think of the extensive wind damage with tornado damage, but you can get some very extensive damage from just even straight line winds. And even with these high winds moving through the area, causing some extensive damage. We've seen a lot of reports coming in this evening. I know we've seen several reports of roofs being blown off, shingles, sidings of houses being blown off, a lot of trees being snapped. This extensive damage, a lot of it, still can be caused by these winds. Again, that bulldozer effect. So if you notice that, if you're assessing the damage on your property, look to see if a lot of this is getting blown over the same direction. And that's evidence that, those straight line winds, all getting all that debris and all of the wind damage, all of it's going in the same direction. Again, more of a bulldozer effect of those high winds as it moved east across the area. I catch them on some more comments here before we move on. Suzanne, question: Thursday's thunderstorm risk, what's the main concern? Suzanne's asking, and we'll touch on that here in just a minute. But to answer real quickly, likely going to be damaging winds, large hail would be the main concern with any severe thunderstorms later into the day on Thursday. Kim joining us now. So are we done, or getting more, just not severe, or are we done? So we're likely spot some additional rain moving back in here early on tonight. But yes, we're likely done in terms of the severe threat. Amy saying power east Liverpool for this evening. And Kaylee also asking, what is the risk with the second line of storms coming through tonight? Again, likely not severe, but we can have some additional showers, maybe another thunderstorm in the mix, but likely nothing severe at this point here going in early tonight. Mary says the neighbor's tree was twisted. Again, a lot of us think of that as a tornado. Actually still can be caused by some high winds, catching those tree branches and moving one side of the tree to twist it. So I know a lot of us think of that as a tornado damage, but it can also be indicative of just some high winds as well. Trees and shingles in my yard, Suzanne saying, and Kim saying, awesome in terms of the severe risks not returning. Yes, good to hear for early on tonight. Certainly do not need any more wind damage. And again, a lot of it reported across the Ohio Valley, and these power outages quite extensive. And from what I can recall, this is the most number of power outages I can recall here in the Ohio Valley since I've been covering the weather here in 2019. This is the most I can recall power outages in the area. Over 80,000 total power outages. This is as of 7:30. And some of the hardest hit counties percentage-wise have been Harrison, Jefferson, reported around 50% of customers tracked without power, about half of Harrison, about half of Jefferson County without power. The absolute worst was Brooke County, nearing about 80%. About 80% of customers tracked to Brooke County, no power. 9,700 customers reported without power in Brooke County, and that accounts for about 80% of customers tracked. So some horrendous numbers there in terms of power outages, a lot here locally. Again, the total number over 80,000, and percentage-wise, we have several counties around 50, if not higher, percentage of customers tracked in those counties without power at this hour. So a lot of us, unfortunately, dealing with power outages. Again, the good news is from this point on, yes, we'll start to spot some additional rain moving back into the area, but likely not going to deal with any severe threat. In fact, a lot of what we're seeing to our west right now, even though we're still dealing with some storms, I wouldn't be surprised if this is continuing to weaken as it moves back into our area. Now, I think the exception is going to be likely more towards our south. I would still watch closer to Charleston, towards Parkersburg. I would still watch and maybe covering there towards Tyler County, maybe. I would watch for locations more south of us that, we could still deal with the lingering, at least strong thunderstorm, maybe severe. But for most of us, I don't think we're dealing with that risk. Again, we still could spot a thunderstorm. We're going to be spotting some more rain moving back into the area. But for most of us, the vast majority of us, I think the severe risk is done now for the night. And again, a lot of what we're seeing to our west can still weaken even as it progresses east into our area. And this last round, this next round will be our last round then for the night, and we're dry back up then going into tomorrow morning. And outside of something stray for a shower tomorrow, we're looking dry, much more quiet, thankfully, for our Wednesday across the Ohio Valley. And a futurecast illustrating this next batch of precipitation moving back in, and we'll watch for its arrival getting closer towards likely 9-10 o'clock here, leading up to News 9 at 10 on Fox 9. We'll see that next batch of precipitation move in. Again, showers, maybe another thunderstorm moving back into the area, but likely not severe. We'll see that continue then early on tonight by about midnight. Then this is likely out of our area. And notice that we'll dry back up going into tomorrow morning and spot a mix of sun and clouds. It's off towards a chilly start tomorrow, then a cooler end. High temperatures only make it just in the 70s into Wednesday afternoon. Again, only a slight chance to spot any shower throughout the daytime tomorrow with that mix of sun and clouds. And we'll spot better odds for showers then, a few of them likely returning overnight into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then we'll spot more of these scattered showers and thunderstorms developing Thursday. The emphasis Thursday will be into the afternoon and evening. That's when we'll spot the majority of those showers and thunderstorms on Thursday is later on into the day. This is with another cold front passage out ahead of this on Thursday. We'll likely climb back into the 80s. Behind this, we'll fall back in the lower 70s Friday. Still some lingering showers Friday, but likely not much in terms of thunderstorms on Friday, and certainly nothing severe anticipated Friday. But we can still have some showers with another cold front passage Friday, and then by the time we get into the weekend, still some lingering showers likely Saturday. But at that point, and no severe thunderstorms. But I was going to say likely no thunderstorms at all by the time we get into Saturday. Just some showers, and we'll notice temperatures struggling to even get in the 60s. So similar really to what we had this past weekend, again, looking ahead for this coming weekend. I think in terms of temperatures, in terms of the cloud cover, some showers lingering Saturday, maybe a little more wet this Saturday with respect to last Saturday. And then by Sunday, sun breaks back out, highs back well in the 60s, very, very similar, I think, for the most part from what we had this past weekend, again, this weekend. So our severe weather outlook, I know some of you asked about this. This is for Thursday. Again, that potential is there. The much lower risk, though. So we were under the enhanced or that orange where the potential for numerous severe thunderstorms was present. Came to fruition for us here in the Ohio Valley into this evening. But notice we're in the green. This is marginal risk. This means that threat's likely more isolated overall, that the threat looks lower. The risk is lower for us, thankfully, on Thursday. But the potential, nonetheless, is still there. Damaging winds, large hail looks to be the primary concern with any severe thunderstorms that happen to develop into the latter part of Thursday. Hopefully this time that severe threat will not come to fruition, but nonetheless, it is still present there for the latter part of Thursday. And Terry joining, asking, we're done for tonight. You might have already covered that by the time you asked that, Terry, but yeah, we'll see some additional showers, a thunderstorm move back in over the next few hours, and then exit likely leading up closer to midnight. And then we are looking dry for the latter part of tonight and likely dry tomorrow before we'll see more showers and thunderstorms return on Thursday. Carol saying no electric in Hancock, joining us this evening. Suzanne saying AEP estimated restoration near Sherrodsville at midnight, saying AEP restoration there estimated about midnight for Suzanne. Marlene, Brooke County got hit hard. We have lines down all over in trees. Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, Marlene, we were talking about how Brooke County has about 80% of customers tracked, about 80% are without power. That is the hardest hit county in terms of power outages in our area. The highest percentage, about 80% of customers tracked in Brooke County without power. So yeah, dealing with extensive damage across Brooke County. Terry saying had some pea-sized hail. Notice some pea-sized hail, really windy. Thunder and lightning lasted for about 20 minutes. And Smithfield, Terry, reporting for us this evening. And Debbie saying thanks to someone, Debbie, for this evening. So that's again what we're looking for into Thursday. Thankfully, the risk overall is looking lower with respect to what we had for today. And in your 9+1 day forecast, thankfully that weather is quiet tomorrow, cooler with respect to what we had today than back in the 80s Thursday. More showers and thunderstorms. The emphasis into the afternoon and evening. Yes, the potential is there for severe thunderstorm, but overall the risk is lower with respect to today. Then some showers will persist likely going into the weekend. Temperatures will cool down after Thursday, 70s to 60s. A little chill to the air is possible for the start of the weekend Saturday, similar to what we had this past Saturday. And we'll start to lose that chill with the sun breaking back out, temperatures climbing back well in the 60s on Sunday. And we'll see, I think, a quiet stretch of weather early next week with temperatures climbing back into the 70s, looking pretty nice. So looking forward to that quiet stretch of weather later into the 9+1 day forecast. That's for sure. Late this week and early next week, the weather's turning quiet, looking nice. And even tomorrow, looking nice as well and quiet before we'll have more showers and thunderstorms move back in. Suzanne says, thank you, Nathan, for keeping on top of all the weather. Well, thank you for tuning in, Suzanne. I appreciate it. So Athens County, Elizabeth joining us from Athens County saying second round is coming my way. And, but yeah, before we wrap up, let's jump back to radar, shall we? And check out that next batch of rain coming our way. So let's load it up here. And we will have a second round, yes, move back into the area. And we're likely going to spot, more in terms of rain, maybe some thunderstorms in the mix, but for us here, Eastern Ohio, the Northern Panhandle, likely not going to be seeing anything severe with this. Still maybe a rumble of thunder. I think where we could still see some stronger storms is going to be more south of our area, taking aim towards Parkersburg, Charleston, maybe dealing with some stronger thunderstorms that way, but likely not so much for us. Just those locations that, didn't see as much rain going throughout this afternoon is the locations where these storms could still carry some intensity going into the first half of tonight. Again, that's likely more south of our area towards Parkersburg and Charleston locations as this next batch moves in. And even Athens County, yes, it's getting ready to move into your area here shortly as it's getting ready to move back in. Nothing severe there, but still some strong storms moving back, coming your way. And as you can see, those will track just south of likely Noble, Monroe, maybe clipping there a portion of Tyler County. If there's any county that could still see something on the stronger side, maybe Tyler County, but for most of us, the severe risk is done. And we'll spot, again, maybe another rumble of thunder, primarily some rain moving back in. And we'll see this over the next few hours. Once we get closer to midnight, then we'll start to dry back up across the area and then likely dry tomorrow with only a slight chance to spot any shower before more showers and thunderstorms return on Thursday. Kathy saying, thanks for update on weather and have a great evening. You as well, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in. Kayla saying, I'm watching from Indiana for my friend when she charges her phone to give her the latest. Thanks for tuning in. Elizabeth saying, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Terry saying, anything more tonight near Smithfield? Yeah, Terry, some additional rain moving back in, maybe a rumble of thunder, but not anticipating any high winds with this next batch coming our way. Nothing severe anticipated with this next round of rain coming our way. But still, maybe a thunderstorm still in the mix, some rain, but not anticipating any severe, thankfully, for the remainder of this evening. We did have the severe thunderstorm watch that was only in effect till 7 o'clock, but it was even expired well before that. Our severe risk even came to an end before 6:30 for our area. That line moved through our area rather quickly as it produced those high winds across most of our area. And Mitzi saying power still out in Wintersville. And yeah, a lot of power outages, unfortunately. A lot of power outages across our area. And I can cover that real quick here again. Our power outages. This was as of 7:30. As of 7:30, still over 80,000 customers reported without power in our area. And again, we've been talking about the hardest hit counties in terms of percentages, the percentages of customers without power. The hardest hit was Brooke County. Nearly 80% of customers tracked in Brooke County are without power, and around a half of customers tracked without power in Harrison, Jefferson County. Those are some of the hardest hit counties in terms of the percentages, but overall, still thousands of power outages still across locations along north of I-70. Areas where we saw some of those lighter winds, generally south of I-70, you'll notice not as many, I say lighter, but still some gusty winds, I know, but not dealing with as high of wind speeds across Noble, Monroe, Tyler, Wetzel County. a lot lower power outages for those locations. And where we were tracking really that core potential there with the wind speeds potentially in excess of 70, upwards of 80 miles per hour, where that potential for that high wind speed was. We tracked that out of Coshocton County, moving through Tuscarawas and then into portions of Harrison, Carroll, through Jefferson and into Brooke, Hancock County. And that played out directly to where we saw the highest number of power outages as well. So where we were tracking the highest wind speeds, also coinciding with where we saw the greatest amount of power outages as well, that area that had that potential. And that's why, your phone going off with a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's why it was tagged with that potential for wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. And with that potential for wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour, even with the severe thunderstorm warning, it's will trigger that to go off on your phones. And that's why we did have that go off with that severe thunderstorm warning from, again, Tuscarawas, Carroll, Harrison, Jefferson, into Brooke, Hancock County, where we saw likely some of the highest winds with this storm. And even, I will mention, the Wheeling Ohio County Airport registered a wind speed of 70 miles per hour there at the airport. So still some very high winds as well, looking towards Ohio County. But I think ultimately the highest, likely just north of that, into those locations we just discussed. 80 miles per hour. Yeah, definitely some very high winds, right? And I'm sure we'll get an estimate as the National Weather Service office at Pittsburgh does assess some of this damage. And, they're still compiling a lot of these storm reports and may very well start to estimate what some of our wind speeds got to here in the area. And, we have what our surface stations have told us, what was actually recorded. Wind gusts were still recorded around 70, even a little over 70 miles per hour, I think, looking towards Pittsburgh. But we'll see what the Weather Service, they might estimate some higher wind speeds based off of some of the damage that's being reported in our area. So, of course, we'll continue to keep an eye out for any more information the National Weather Service office of Pittsburgh does pass on in terms of these storm reports coming in going throughout this evening. And if they are happening to do any storm surveys, we'll let you know as well going into tomorrow. Amanda's saying the power's still out in Follinsby. Check on your elderly neighbors. Absolutely check up on your friends and family. Make sure they're okay. And yes, that's a great point, Mitzi. Check up on the elderly with the loss of power. Check up on your friends and family as well going throughout this evening. Is Belmont good now? Marie's asking. Yeah, likely. So I think that the severe threat for us is done. We will still likely spot some rain moving back in. A thunderstorm is still possible, but likely not tracking any large hail or damaging winds or any tornadoes, and likely nothing of that sort moving back into the area tonight. So likely nothing severe. I do think that there can still be some strong thunderstorms south of us towards Parkersburg, Charleston. These are locations that did not pick up as much rain going throughout this afternoon. Maybe that could clip Tyler County, but I think that would be the extent of anything that's going to be far enough north that could still be stronger. On the stronger side would be likely Tyler County. I think that would be it going through the remainder of tonight. Saying thanks for looking at for us. You're welcome. You are very welcome. Appreciate everything you do. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. Thank you all for tuning in, as always, for this edition of Nate at 8. I hope everyone did stay safe going throughout this evening. And yes, we will have that additional round of precipitation moving back into the area, but thankfully not anticipated for it to be severe. We will be watching then Thursday. That potential for additional severe thunderstorms is possible Thursday afternoon and evening, but the overall risk does not look as high as what we had for today going into the latter part of Thursday. Of course, stay tuned for the latest. You can catch me giving more updates on Nathan Shutt News 9. I can pull that up as well. This is my social media, and you can catch up some of the latest updates. There's my Facebook, Nathan Shutt News 9. If you happen to be on X, in Shutt WTOV, you can post more updates going throughout this evening. And another good way to keep updated is tune in. Coming up, if you can, if your power is restored, if you can tune in tonight at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11. But I know if a lot of us still in the dark, Make sure to stay tuned for the latest there on Nathan Shutt News 9 and Shutt WTV. I'll post some updates going throughout the evening on social media as well. And of course, stay tuned tomorrow morning if the power is restored by then for News 9 Sunrise Midday with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Exline, bring the latest on where we stand with wind damage across the area and the latest on that next batch of storms moving in on Thursday. And I'll be right back here tomorrow evening for that next edition of Nate at 8 as well. So I'll see you all tomorrow around 8 o'clock for that next edition of Nate at 8, as we'll break down the latest on that following round of some storms coming our way Thursday. I hope everyone stayed safe. Have a great night. Hopefully everyone's power is restored here shortly. Big shout out to the linemen getting out and restoring power. It's I'm sure a large task ahead. I'm sure they're going to be working some long shifts here over the next couple of days, restoring power across the area, and a lot of the tree companies as well, I'm sure, getting out and clearing a lot of this debris. So certainly we'll be thinking of those folks as well here over the next couple of days, putting in a lot of work here to restore power for us across the area. So certainly we'll be thinking of them as well. All right, everyone, have a great night. I'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8 tomorrow evening around 8 o'clock. Until then, I hope everyone stayed safe. Stay safe tonight and have a good night.